Danny, how are you this evening?
I'm doing fantastic, buddy. I missed you. It's been a while.
Well, I missed you too, and I will say this: let's not get too mushy because we have one person watching. Let's not try and piss them off, whoever they are.
Whoever
Let's
they are,
we can hold strong with that one person watching.
yeah, we'll ease them into it. We're going to work our way towards that, right?
It just grew into two. All
Yeah,
right, let's
exactly.
hang on to those two. Let's hang on to those two. Dan, as always, dude, I would have to say this was probably one of the most prepared shows. Having it scheduled, rescheduled, canceled, and now here we are. We have done our prep work. I'd
Yeah.
like to say that we have this. This is bulletproof now. Tonight's show, absolutely bulletproof, and it's. I'll be honest, it's worth the wait. Just our backstage conversation. I could tell you've had a lot of fun with Jamie before.
God, yes. Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of fun with him tonight. Looking forward to that. We have a lot going on tonight, Dan. We've got Jamie, of course, Captain Jamie Pistilli, who's going to be joining us shortly. And we're also going to be doing, for those who went to our Made in Canada tackle show in Kitchener, we are going to be giving away, we have the name wheel all ready to go, and we're going to be announcing the winner of the 2-night stay for you and a friend at Camp McIntosh. So stay tuned to that.
I'm excited for that. Let's get to it.
I am too. As I said, I always look forward to going up to Camp Mac. It's a unique experience for those who, are used to fly-ins. It has that flying appeal just because you get boated into the resort, so you don't drive to it. So it's got that certain sense of flying appeal. But it's so close to Toronto. You're 3.5, 4 hours tops out of Toronto, and it's just wonderful. It's wonderful fishing. Georgian Bay, the North Channel, that whole area is a fisherman's paradise, to say the absolute least.
You get that isolation feel. Like, I hope I didn't forget anything, but if you really did forget something, you still can go get it. That's the appeal that you like. That so I think it's fantastic, and the fishing in that area is beautiful. It's fantastic.
It's the first time, Dan, I've actually had to. You basically you have to make sure you pace yourself, because if you drink everything the first night, there's 2 more nights to go, and that has happened to us one night. The one trip that we went up there, we ran out the first night, and it made for an interesting second night after that. But nonetheless, as I said, it's always a lot of fun. Look forward to all of our OFC and CFNers joining us up at Camp Mac, but we'll be doing that after we talk to Jamie. In the meantime, yes. I think we have a couple of announcements in regards to the upcoming NCAA tournament.
Yeah, we haven't talked to it the last couple of lives. It's been a while, but we've gotten 2 new sponsors, so we'd like to welcome Moxie's Bait and Tackle out of Lively. Mark and Kevin were gracious to jump on board with us, and as well as Blue Heron Resort. So it's fantastic to get that local support in the area, and then and we keep building. I'm very excited about that. Our registrations are picking up, our prizes keep increasing, and we are growing. With 4 months to go, when you think about it, we're getting there.
And I remember saying that to you, like I think we were talking about it in December, maybe just before Christmas, and we got a long ways. And as you get older, it gets worse, Dan. So I'm not gonna look forward to that for you. But as you get older, the time flies even faster. And I remember saying it then, and I'm feeling it now. The tournament's going to be right around the corner. Like, in the blink of an eye, it's going to be September, and it's going to be the first annual NCAA tournament, and it's on the go. And let's hope we're going to be prepared. But lots of announcements still to come. Adrian, nice to see you tonight. Obviously, Adrian is going to be one of the vendors up at the Made in Canada Expo that is part of the NCAA tournament. Looking forward to that, as well as a bunch of other vendors. And if you are interested in signing up, Brad is going to be putting together an informal application for you to apply through our Made in Canada website. As it is right now, I believe we have 8 vendors that are signed up, ready to go, and it's only going to grow from here. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to
2 or 3 in the wings up here waiting to get on board. So it's pretty fantastic what we're doing. When we were pitching this idea, when we're talking to people, and it's not just a tournament. We have a pre-fishing tournament, the Made in Canada show. Like, when we approach the town, it turns into a 20-minute conversation of just what we're trying to organize, and and luckily they're super on board. So thank you very much to them, of course, and thanks to Scottie for all his work with the Made in Canada and Brad and getting that all put together. And we're trying to put a good show for everybody, and everybody's starting to file in. So we're really excited for that.
You know what's really interesting? There's parallels here, Dan, between what we've managed to come up with the NCAA and, of course, the Made in Canada. It all started with some time on the water, fishing. Believe it or not, some of these great ideas come from sitting in a tinner on the water, enjoying a great day of fishing, and that's exactly how the Made in Canada was spawned. And the NCAA was very similar to that. It all came out of an epiphany that you've had for some time. Yeah. I've wanted to do. Met the right person. We went out and experienced the resource, which was off the charts in my opinion. Absolutely incredible walleye fishery. And
thank you.
Here we are.
I can remember, like I said, it was 5 years of having this idea in my head, trying to get it off the ground. And, then I met Nick and you, obviously, Scottie. And I can remember saying, like, I'm going to do this. And with the, as you've seen with our tournament anglers, when we go to our tournaments, you speak about running out of beer. We don't make that mistake. We make sure there's lots around. And me and Nick were able to put an idea together, and it just kind of, I'm one of those guys, when it rattles in my head long enough, I get my focus on, I'm going to do it. And here I am pushing forward. Also, I'm kind of a tyrant because I'm a planner. I try to get things done ahead of time. Don't tell Mary Lisa that, because it doesn't happen at home, but everything else I tend to be ahead of schedule and things. But no, thank you very much. And I'm very excited for where we're at. And I want to thank everybody who's paying attention to it, all the vendors that have said yes, that are coming up. This means the world to me, and all the anglers that have already signed up, and everybody, all the interest we're getting. I'm super excited. Like I said, the first one, and I'm very impressed at where we're heading and where we could be real quickly in the near future.
100%. Well said. So before we bring in Jamie, let's just say hello to a few people that are watching. Bill Landry, you've got to be out on the water, Bill. I guarantee you're out fishing right now, and for toothy critters. So Jamie's going to be a great resource for you to ask a question. Tony's in the house. Nice to see you as well, Tony. Joe Fanny's here. Anglers, yes, maybe I have. And you know what, Tony? It's not such a bad thing. Just saying. Mitch and his wonderful photography is here. How you doing, Mitch? And Jim Fowler, always a pleasure to have you, and thanks so much for your support over the years. Really appreciate you, Jim, and all your positivity. And with that, I think it is time to introduce our guest, the one and only Jamie Pistilli. But before we do, let's take a quick look at what we're going to be giving away after we talk to Jamie when it comes to Camp McIntosh. And there he is, the one and only Captain Jamie Pistilli.
What's up, guys? It's good to see you again. We got to see each other at the shows during the winter. Now the boats are finally on the trailers, and here we go. And
absolutely,
I'm pumped.
Absolutely, Jamie. It was an honor to meet you. I believe it was last year at the Ottawa show. You were doing a seminar there amongst various other very educated anglers that the crowd, Dan, if you've ever get a chance to go to the Ottawa show and you see the speakers, there's nowhere to sit. Every single chair is taken. Jamie was a big draw. John Anderson's always a big draw. Greg Emile this year was a huge draw. Like, as I said, if you get a chance to go to the Ottawa show, go there with the intent of seeing the show, but also experiencing what the speakers have to offer you. Because I'll tell you, like, I learned so much. I mean, I don't know garbage compared to, you know, a guy like yourself, Jamie, but I did learn a lot of stuff that I may already do. I may not understand why I do it, but the way, you know, folks like you explain it, John explains it, Greg explains it, it just makes sense. And all of a sudden the light goes off and it's like, hey, for once I'm doing something right. Now, Jamie, obviously it has been a long road for you to get to where you are right now. And of course, we always start with our guests. We want to know a little bit of a backstory when it comes to you. Who introduced you to fishing? And do you have any stories as a young angler that you'd love to share?
I think, you know, growing up, my dad was the one who introduced me to fishing. And I kind of set him off fishing because as a kid, we'd go out and I'd be hooking myself and hooking my pants, and he'd be, you know, putting on 200 worms. And so I just got him back into fishing about 2 or 3 years ago after probably like a 20 solid year hiatus. Because, you know, and there's the great story where my dad fell out of the boat on Mississippi Lake and he can't swim. You know, so every year where he fell out gets deeper, but it was like 2 feet. I was like, hey, Dad, sit up, you know, like, but no, my dad introduced me to fishing, and my parents got divorced when I was young, and fishing for me was always an outlet. Like I would, after school, go down the river and fish and kind of clear my mind. And, you know, after school and different activities, I'd always fish. And for me, my first ever paycheck I got was fishing. We had this little, I grew up in Montreal, and we had this little old man who owned this bait store. And he was like, if you get me a little catfish, I'll pay you 75 cents per catfish. So I was like, okay. So I was so excited the next day. I grabbed my tin of worms, went down, and I remember knocking on the store, and he was closed. And I knocked on his house, which was attached to the store. And I was like, and he finally came out in his underwear, that's a little crazy. But,
yeah.
You know, but I was like, I had
been to
2
Montreal,
bags full. And I was like, yo, me $86.75. And from then, you know, I was like, one day I'll make money at fishing. You know,
that wasn't catfish either back then. That was barbut, right?
That was the barbut. Yeah. And he's like, I didn't tell you I needed 132 of them, but they were biting that night.
That I can honestly say that is a unique story. That is a total original. I've never heard anything like that. That is truly, in all the years I've been doing this, Dan, I have never heard a story like that. That is fantastic. Beautiful stuff.
And when you're like 13 or 14, it was like, I just got paid to fish.
Absolutely.
So I kind of parked that on the back burner. And then, you know, as life evolved, you know, I did some writing for, you know, different magazines, and I always wanted to be a guide. I always wanted to be that guy in TV. And I remember growing up, I was like, I'm going to be the next Bob Azumi. I'm going to be the next, you know, Pete Bowman. And it happened. And it was a lot of fun. I got to, you know, travel around Canada and fish. But I realized, you know, I was once told, if you want to make $1 million in the fishing business, you got to start with $2 million.
Amen. Right, Dan? We know all about that, right?
Yes, sir. And you know what? I have no intentions on changing my path right now, but I'm gonna try and steady the course here. But very lucky. I mean, like Jamie's got some of the best stories. I spent a lot of time with him. I'm very happy to call him my friend. I've walked in a very short period of time of knowing him, and all publicly, mind you, in some weird circumstances where, you know, come around the corner, next thing you know, there's a sales pitch going on, and I get dragged into it instantly. And my time with Nick Huxton has definitely provided me with that roll with it kind of mentality. Well, Mary Lisa especially, she's you just got to kind of go with the flow. And Jamie almost got us invited to China. I think that still might happen. But
I got to follow up with that. We had a group that invited us to China to get sports fishing going over there. So I might need some kind of translator app or something, but I'm sure we can make that happen.
I mean, when you walk around the corner and you got, a delegation of people taking photography and then they're taking pictures and they're talking to him. There's a translator going on. And I'm like, what the hell did I just walk into? And he immediately throws me into it. And I'm like, oh, I'll go with this. And I said, what just happened? So I think we're going to China, he says. So I was like, it was a one experience. That's the kind of stuff that makes the shows a lot of fun. And, but my son fell in love with Jamie. He met Jamie for 20 minutes? I think we had lunch together. And Jamie was just like, this guy's a blast. He's just like, what do I walk into? So, that's kind of been my experience with Jamie. So I'm looking forward to spend some time on the boat with you finally.
Yeah, I know you're coming to the nation's capital in June. So I'd love to get you on the water and maybe we can get some photos up there.
Yeah.
So as a young kid, yeah. So as a young kid, when you weren't fishing out the Ottawa area of burbot and catfish, at what age did you think that you wanted to take fishing to the next level, which perhaps maybe was tournaments or, as you mentioned, becoming a guide?
Yeah, so I guess when I was like 12, 13, I started watching all the fishing shows and I thought, like, what a great way to make a living is to be on, show up to all these spots and catch fish, and that was always something I wanted to do. And then later on, I think my first big break was kayak fishing. Like, kayak fishing started. I met a guy named Rob Dorcas, who was a huge mentor to me, and he got me on with Ocean Kayak, and they're trying to get the kayak fishing going in Canada. And at the same time, my friend Tim Millard, who works for Ontario Outdoors, was doing an article about kayak fishing. And he's like, hey, man, can we get some of your kayaks? Next thing you know, like maybe a month later, I'm on the cover of the magazine. And Rob was like, holy shit. Like, see the banner. And then I did a lot of kayak fishing tournaments. And it was such a cool thing. And then I got into writing, and then I got into my TV show, and I was on the Jim Salmon show, the kayak fishing show, that was one of those things. And I got them to come up for Muskie, and I was like, you got to come for Muskie. It's like, it's great. Right. So they came up and we had 2 days. Day one, nothing. Day two, nothing. And like, this is just, I can't say the word, but I'm going to be edited out of the show. You can't just cast, right? Like, and not have a show. And honestly, they're packing up all the camera gear. The light's going down. I do a big figure eight, and I do a figure eight and a figure eight. And I'm like, oh man, I'm being edited. I do figure eight and figure eight and figure eight. And then bang, I get hit at the side of the boat. And fish is going mad, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta fish. And we had a sponsor with Boga Grip, which is like this lip grip thing, which I'm not a big fan of, but they gave us this tool, and I never used it until this point. And I thought, maybe I'll use it because they gave it to us, and I didn't have a net. And anyway, get us to the side of the boat, and I'm about to lip grip it. I'm so nervous. I got the camera on me, and I'm like, holy shit, finally got it done. And the fish goes berserk, and I get a treble hook through my thumb, and I'm attached to a 43-inch muskie, and it's going bananas. And I know the cameras are on there, and I'm like, ooh. And somehow I grabbed the fish, and then we were packing up, so I threw my bolt cutters and threw all my release tools behind me, thinking like the day's done. And I'm yelling at the guy, get my red cutters. And he brings me like my blue cutters. I'm like, I don't know if you're colorblind, but it's the red cutters. Like, so he gives me the cutters, and I cut the fish out, and we, lift it up for a quick photo, and then fishes off. And then, sure enough, that DVD for fishing was like for kayak fishing, like they caught a marlin for the first time, and it towed the guy 3 miles, and then I got hooked and a bunch of other things. And then I really realized that, like, I want to be part of this fishing world, right? So I kind of took that and worked a whole bunch of different jobs, and then ended up, I was a banker. Check me out on LinkedIn. I got quite a big past, but finally, my wife told me, like, go buy a boat, just get it done, like, do what you want to do, be happy, and started guiding, and life's been great. Like, I've been guiding 8 years now.
Wow, that's a great story. I have to ask, because I don't think I've ever known, nor have I ever asked anybody else, Jamie, but when it comes to the figure eight,
yeah,
you think of things like toothpaste. I think, Danny, you mentioned it before we went live. Like, who comes up with this stuff? The figure eight, how long has it been around, and who invented it? Who came up with the idea?
That's a great question, and nobody's actually asked me that question. But I'll do an 8, and I'll also do an O, like, just to get the fish to kind of like a, rods have gotten longer, so now it's like an O is kind of an easier way, and it depends when the fish hits, when it's falling around. But I'm gonna have to figure that out. That's a good question.
Because I'm now starting to see bass tournament anglers do it, and I'm not just tournament anglers, but all bass anglers. They're starting to do it now too. It's a customized figure eight, but very similar to what muskie anglers do to attract fish that are close to the boat.
Oh boy, it's happening! It's happening.
When the bass world gets a hold of it, that's it. That's the end of it, right?
Oh no!
But do you find when you're doing the figure eight, stuff like that, because I notice most predatory fish, they tend to react on that stall. So is that the whole point of that figure eight? Once you stall that bait, you get more of a hit on, or they tend to go after it when it speeds up at muskie?
I think once they're coming to the boat, depending on the mood and the weather and so many different factors. But if they're following it, there's only so much real estate when it's coming to the boat. So you got to keep it going, and they get excited. It's like a cat chasing a toy, right? So when they think, I need to catch it, you do sometimes like super erratic movements, and then they hit it, right? But
that now or never mentality, hopefully they're triggered for that, right?
Yeah. Now I'm all screwed up with these bass guys doing this. The push guys going to be doing it.
For you, I mean, obviously, when you first started, and maybe I won't answer that. Maybe I'll let you answer that. But when you first started, has the fishing it gotten better since then, or has the fishing pressure increased so it is now a fish of 10,000 casts? What's your take on muskie fishing as a whole?
That's a great question. I caught my first muskie when I was 17 with my cousin Mike in Montreal, which was
10 years ago.
I feel bad about myself. Like 30-something years ago.
Last week, yes.
Yeah. But like, we used to fish without electronics, with very minimal stuff. And if I could take my boat now and go to where I was, like in a time machine, oh my God, I think it would be crazy. So I think, yes, there's more pressure. The tackle's better. The lures are better. Technology, obviously, with the different sonars we have, is better. The information out there is way easier, whereas before nobody knew stuff. Like, you'd be like, haha, I'm speed trolling bucktails. They're like, what? Wow. Whereas now there's so much information that people can get. So, as a guide, I'm always trying to do things different and, get with the new trends. But also, I find a lot of the old trends kind of come back. Like, I can't even say it on the air, but I found an old trick from like 15 years ago that worked like crazy last year. But this year, it might be something different, right? So it's always a guessing game. It's a puzzle. Putting it together.
I'm glad you're saying it exactly like that, because it's kind of one of the stipulations we talk about when we talk about the electronics and the forward-facing sonar. It's just the availability of information is there. Everybody's getting better. Technology's better.
but the fish are getting better too. Like, you still have to understand the basics and the old school techniques because they will they'll change constantly. And this year, especially, I see more of the comments about the walleye fishing being slow. And I went to my calendar spots. This time of year, we're going to go here, here, and here. The fish were there, but they were reacting differently. So I decided to kind of venture away, and you've seen something completely different. And it's just, the mentality would never been to go try these spots before. And I think I see that when it comes to, I'm not a muskie angler. I've caught big muskie, and it's more been, in my opinion, it's been a nuisance because I'm a walleye guy. You catch them incidentally. But you see more and more guys catching those fish. They're getting better at it, but the fishing has changed. It wasn't like just pulling cranks and shallow in the wake and certain things. Guys are doing different techniques, and I think they're starting to discover that the fishing is a lot bigger, I guess is the word I'm trying to look at. Like I'm trying to explain. Like it's not as niche as we thought it was, I guess.
It's funny. Everything changes, right? Like we had 2 years ago, we had all those forest fires coming through, and I know you're a walleye guy, and I was catching walleyes like insane in 2 feet of water when it was like 80 degrees.
Yeah.
And you tell people, like, you watch all the old guys jigging in 30 feet, and they're like, oh, where are the walleyes? Come in, I'm like, I caught 8 of them. I wasn't even fishing for them. Like, what? So things change. Like our Mother Nature's not happy. The world keeps changing. The weather keeps changing. We keep having more and more extreme, storms and different weather systems. So got to keep adapting, and not every day is the same.
Jamie, I got to ask you too, based on that, being someone that, like Dan, has followed walleye pretty much all my life. One of the reasons I truly love walleye is because just when you think you have them figured out, just as you mentioned, to your point, all of a sudden they throw you a curveball. 80-degree weather and 2 feet of water on a sunny day at noon, and you're catching fish. Like somebody's got to explain, because I don't understand that. Everything I've read, everything I know about walleye, we should not be catching them here. When it comes to muskie, is there a lot of that happens too?
Same thing,
eh?
And like you'll go through trends where it's good. Last year, to be honest, I was skunked more than I was ever skunked as a guide, and I also had the most multiple fish, more days over 3 fish at the same time. So when the feeding windows are good, they're good, and when it's off, it's like, and when it's a bad existence.
I bet.
You can kind of feel it when you hit the water too. You just know, oh, these is going to be one of those days, or this is going to be a stellar day. And like I said, back to your point with the big walleyes, I've caught some in July, 30 degrees outside, 72-degree water temp, and 8 feet of water on glass calm. No reason why they should be there midday. You always assume that low light and everything else. So it's caused me to change my thinking. And I think I've noticed a lot of guys like yourselves, a lot of the musky guys that I knew, they're not the same guys they were 5 years ago. Let's put it that way. They're not fishing the same way at all.
No, you can't do the same. A lot of anglers that are out there do the same thing every day. They catch a fish. I caught 26-inch walleye. I caught a 5-pound bass. Every day they're using the same lure, doing the same thing. Well, every day's different. Every condition's different, and you really have to. I keep a journal, and my journal's starting to help me, connect the dots. But even then, with that, things are all over the map, right? So sometimes you'll be like, last year 18 feet, and then 2 feet, and then the whole logic part of it. You can be an internet fisherman where you're like, reading what's going on, but you have to get out there and do it.
Amen.
And when one thing's not working, you gotta, try something different. On my days off, I fish, and I love fishing by myself, and I will try the weirdest stuff you'll ever see. And sometimes that's when you come up with a different technique or a different pattern, or, I wouldn't do something with my clients, but I'm like, I'm going to try this today. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So got to keep that toolbox out open.
Yeah. 100%. And that's the other thing that I admire about muskie anglers like yourself. We at Camp Mac, we have a hardcore group of toothy critter lovers that go up with 5-gallon pails full of just about everything hanging off the side. Every pail I see them pick up is probably worth, I don't know, in excess of 10 grand with the shadzillas and everything else that are hanging off the inside. To be a muskie angler, you got to spend a little bit of dough. And I admire folks that are that hardcore, that are willing to spend that kind of money to target those kind of fish, because you're on a different level than I am. I'll say that. But when it comes to forward facing sonar, obviously that is a hot topic these days in our fishing community. Has it really helped your fishing as a charter captain as well as a recreational angler, or could you do without it?
I'm to be honest with you, I'm more the instinctual old school guy. I'm like kind of Big Jim with the plotter. I kind of like, I'd like to. I'm upgrading my sonars, but at the same time, I fish with a whole bunch of different people when I'm not guiding, and sometimes technology works, but I think sometimes also technology
hurts you,
hinders the way that you fish. So sometimes you might find a fish you wouldn't know, but at the same time you're staring at a screen and not fishing. So I prefer hey, I know these areas have fish, and just get people to cast and enjoy the day. We spend so much time staring at our phone, staring at our computer. I have a hard time just like bunkering down on technology. So trying to come up with a way to do both, right? Like I know that technology every year, it's advancing so much, and you have to be there. But at the same time, I like to get people out on the water that are enjoying the time, and enjoying not staring at technology.
Amen. I'm a technology freak, but I agree with everything you're saying. I've been exactly in that situation where people are relying on the old school methods and fishing their areas and not having the success. I've had the exact same problem where I can see the fish and I'm targeting a fish for way too long. I'm definitely chasing a negative fish and not relying on my instincts to pull away. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that, and it works on both. It's that pendulum. Yeah. You got to find the middle and the balance, and the days will tell you that. Yeah, I've been in that situation so many times.
Some days technology, you'll find fish that you would not know that they're there.
Yeah.
And other days, just by fishing naturally, you're going to catch fish on its own, which is, it's almost more enjoyable to do it that way. But hey, catching fish.
But the fish you find too, like you're saying, that you wouldn't normally find, they're negative. They're there for a reason. They're resting. They don't want to be bothered. So all of a sudden, even though you found them, you're not going to get on the trigger. And especially if you're in a tournament situation where time is your greatest enemy, you can win or lose a tournament on that. And I know I've fallen victim to that more times than I'd like to admit. And I'm learning, even though I'm in Jamie's age group here, I'm still learning like a young angler all of a sudden.
Are you in my age group or the group below?
Nah, we're pretty close. So we've already got this one. So I
check driver's license after the show.
Yeah. I noticed Jamie cut his hair, so he's aged himself down a little bit here. So
yeah. I cut the lettuce. My barber almost had a heart attack when I went for a haircut. But
that's hilarious. So Jamie, now you've got your charter captain's license. You've bought your boat as your wife had suggested you do, and you're now chartering. And you've been doing that for how many years now?
But year 8.
Oh, smokes!
Yeah.
Is there a great story that you can share of all the trips that you've taken folks out? Was there a memorable fish that was caught? Did someone break down because they finally ticked their bucket list? Any great stories like that?
It's funny guiding. You get to see the best of people, right? So you get people that are, want to catch a muskie, that finally do. Like I had a guy that was 85 last year. He came on the boat and he said, I need to catch a muskie before I die, and you're the guy to do it. And he's like, I don't care how big it is. And we trolled around, and he's like, I'm having stomach issues. Can we get this done sooner than later? Right? And I'm like, okay, buddy. But, it was a half-day trip, and I look behind, and I see this swirling behind behind the bait. And I'm like, I think you got a fish. And he told me it when we first started. I don't care how big it is. And then sure enough, I'm like, you got a fish. So he reels it in, and it was like a 16-inch muskie. It didn't even pull drag.
Wow.
So it came up. I'm like, you got a muskie? And he goes, this isn't a muskie. It's like the lure's like 10.5 inches. I'm like, hey, you got one, bud. You said you didn't specify. If you would have told me a big one to start, I would have changed my tactics. But
that's hilarious.
It's funny, like the people you meet. Like I've taken, sports, NHL players. I've taken musicians. I've taken like some of the biggest owners of companies, and you get to see them at their best, like, which is great. And you get to hear their stories, and I get to tell my same stories every day, which is great.
You gotta admit too, like when you say that, when this guy's, you catch a 16-inch muskie, like nobody thinks that muskie is that small, but they all start as fry, obviously. So that's, we see that same thing in walleye fishing. We're talking to guys like us, we're getting excited about catching 20s and 22s, and it's having a great day. Well, all we're posting is 26s or bigger, same thing with muskie fishing. So people kind of get that misconception that muskie are only like massive, right? And, I'm super excited to go fishing with you for one specific reason, and I keep bugging you about that, and that's, your gar pike. So, but I will settle for any of those pike and muskie that you put up, because that's not my cup of tea. So I'll be very excited to catch one. Although
my gar pike, they're, for guiding wise, my favorite fish to target. Like conditions are right, you see fish, you're casting at them, you lose one, you're gonna see other fish. Whereas muskie, you might get 1 or 2 bites a day. Sometimes, 6, 7, 8 bites, 10 bites. But gar pike, you're out, and there's a fish. You catch one, you're like, okay, 36-incher, okay, and then you just go look for big ones. And we have some gigantic fish. Like last year, I think we boated 14 over 50 inches. Like there's loads of big fish in the river, and they're there, and you can see them. So it's kind of like saltwater fishing in the Florida Keys. If you've ever been down there, you're out targeting fish, and you find a big fish, you could chase it with the boat. It's a lot of fun. If you're a good caster, it's great.
It's fun with clients too, because you're always seeing things, and even though you might miss them or startle them, they can see it happening. And it's like sight fishing smallies, and it could be a blast when you're chasing around beaches and stuff like that.
100%.
I had a guy he hooked 30 fish and didn't catch one. And then at the end of the day, he finally got a little one. He's like, I got one. And I'm thinking like, oh my, if I had a good caster on board, that would have been the most epic day ever, right? Like, but it's cool that they're seeing them, they're casting them, and you kind of figure out their mood. But they're fun fish. Like, they're dangerous. I got my ear bitten off a couple of years ago. Vander Holyfield guy had a 48-inch fish, and I went to give him to him for a picture. And his mouth opened and turned and hit me. And then I just look over and I just see the stream coming out. I'm like, what is that? It was like blood. I'm like, oh no, it's coming from me, right? Like, it ripped my whole ear off. So the guy was like, I'm like taking a picture, and I'm just like leaking like crazy. So we released the fish. And he goes, I guess our day's done. I'm like, no, I got some super glue, right? So I kind of cleaned it off a bit, put some super glue on it.
Love it.
And back we go.
That's friggin' hilarious. So now you've been guiding for a number of years, some great stories. You've met some great clients. And with that, obviously there comes a selection of baits based on, behaviors, the time of year, the time of season. You mentioned, I believe it was last year when you were at the tank down at the Spring Fishing and Boat Show, you were talking about, if I'm not mistaken, what is the brand name? It's the Titan from
Livingston. Yeah.
Thank you, Livingston. Let's have a look at that, and then we'll talk about some of the other baits that you truly like to toss.
June all the way through to December. Caught 41 muskies on one lure. So I'd often have clients that were fighting to get a color of this one, so now I bought an extra one for next year. Pull it down and crank it, or you can just reel it down a couple of times. Now it is erratic, you got the action of the tail. If you got somebody in the boat that's new to muskie fishing, a very simple way to get this bait moving is just by, you don't have to jerk it at all. You can just crank it down a couple times, let it pause, crank it down a couple times, let it pause. Sure, unless they won't chase a bait as far, you want to get it down and then let it slowly go up. You don't want the bait to go all the way up to the top. Keep it moving, and then obviously I can't do a figure eight here because the tank's a little wide.
Yeah, that would be a little difficult. Looks like very similar to that of a Suic, I would say, in terms of body style. Obviously, the rubber tail is unique. What is it about that bait that just creates the kind of action that caught that many fish for you?
There's a little twister tail in the back, which does wonders and often gets bit off. And then Livingston baits too have EBS technology, so the bait's actually sending out the noise of bait fish in distress. And I think oftentimes, when the bite's tough, that extra little, if there's a fish that's not sure, that bait was crazy. Caught 41 fish in 1 year on the same bait, and I caught at least a muskie every month from June till December, which is the first bait that I've ever caught every single month that I muskie fished. So
what are like, obviously Shadzillas are a popular one with you guys, you muskie anglers. Are there any other baits that you can share with us or mention tonight that you like using that are, a very close second or third go-to for you?
I've been using, I wish my Wi-Fi was better in the garage. I can go for a little tour right now, which probably get me in trouble with the family accountant. But, even old school baits, like a lot of different crankbaits. There's so many great homemade small lure makers in Ontario that do a great job. Like Mike Spratt out of Ottawa. Oh boy, he's got some jerk baits. He was at the Odyssey and he won best new bait. His baits are fantastic. Obviously I'm with Livingston. They have a great product line of different baits. Oh boy, good old bulldogs are always a bait that works well. Like you said, Shadzillas.
Are you into your cowbells? Like, are you using inline spinners much? Like, is that
I do a lot of, especially early season, and then later there's kind of like a lull, and then later in the fall. But different bucktails and so many baits, so little time.
And with muskie, if they're pressured, like Danny will attest to this. If you get into pressured walleye, you'll downsize your bait. Do you do the same with muskie?
I do the same, but I also go the other way where you'll use baits that are way bigger and sometimes just being different, or adding weird colors or just going off the board, because everybody knows what baits work. You got to purchase this, you got to, whatever. But if you go way off the board, come up with something totally different, oftentimes that's what's going to get you bit.
Sounds like a plan.
You spend a lot of time paying attention, like the muskie feeding cycles. Like, are they feeding on bait fish this time of year? Are they feeding on ciscos and whitefish? And you kind of, so you can manipulate. Like, I know we do that here. Like spring, summertime, we know it's a heavy on the whitefish, but in the fall, early fall, I should say, we can kind of manipulate that and throw them off, and it benefits us.
Yeah, and also I follow the obviously the lunar cycle, and weather is a huge thing. Whereas if you get change in the weather, sometimes even the wind shifts 10 miles the other way. Sometimes the fish can go bananas. So paying attention to the small little subtle parts of the day, like if you see a fish, I'll leave it, and then if there's a change in the weather, go back later day or hit it, during a big lunar pattern.
Out in the Ottawa River, they had the upper reaches anyway. They had a bit of a die-off. It was a fish kill, and I know we've had Lawrence Gunther on here a number of times talking about it. Has that impacted your fishing at all, Jamie?
Numbers have been the same, like over the last probably 20, 30 years. I think, percentage rates about the same. I think we have to work a little harder for fish. Sometimes stay out a little longer, but they're there, and like we said before, we're getting smarter, and so are they. I think some of the
Jim hates to hear that. Jim hates to hear that the fish are getting smarter.
I think we're getting smarter, and we are, but at the same time, I've caught the same fish more than once, and some of the fish you catch, you can see have been caught multiple times, which also shows catch and release works, which is, for a big predatory fish that takes a long time to grow. It's great to see that, not only one person can enjoy a catch, other people can too.
Do you, we're working with other guides in the area, do you notice, because I noticed it for the first really time this winter was, wow, it was like amazing, where I'm really noticing the fish reacting to the sonar noise, whether it's forward facing sonar 2D, where it's manipulating how they're acting. So, I know with your technology, you've got kind of a bare bones kind of setup, but do you have other guys that you talk to that are using forward facing sonar? Are they seeing something different? Are they noticing the fish reacting to that like we are?
I've been out with another friend who's a guide, and we were out in his boat. We had a live scope. I don't know if I can say that, but we can see the fish coming in, and it was like probably one of the most popular spots on the Rideau River. And the fish would come in, and then they would go back out, and they would sit like 60 feet outside of the line of the hum, right? So they know, I guess if you've been caught before and it's like, hey, wait, last time I felt this way, there was this crazy sensation. It's like Freddy Krueger's chasing you in the forest and you're going for a swim with your girlfriend, and all of a sudden, hey, wait a second, what's that noise?
Yeah. When I start thinking about it, and I look at all the technology I have on my boat, there's a lot of noise coming off that boat. And I really noticed it this winter. Like, we'd see walleye, and they would just stop. We couldn't look at them. And we're frozen in place because we're literally on the ice. And I realized, hey, there's 20 shacks around me. We all got live forward facing or something. We're all looking at the same fish. And if you'd move away, all of a sudden you'd look back like 5-10 minutes later, that fish is 20 feet closer. So it was very obvious that they didn't like what they were hearing. So that was, to me, all of a sudden that technology started becoming a negative. It was starting to keep things away, because especially ice fishing, I can't cast 40-50 feet at them. I have to wait for them to come to me. So it really deterred my fishing. Whereas open water, we can move around a lot more.
Yeah, I agree.
I have to ask, because Joe's asked this question of all three of us, but Moose, he went with Cooper and a bunch of guys up to far north. I think it was Lake Nipigon was where they ended up. But it was the first, I guess, experience I've seen in some of the videos that they shared jigging for muskie. So, of course, the question here, I have to say, Joe, that I'm aware of, the deepest I've ever caught a walleye was probably 40 feet. I don't typically fish for walleye deeper than that, just because the chances of them being released healthy and the ability to reproduce and be functional diminishes greatly the closer you get to that 40-foot mark. So usually 40 feet would be sort of the cutoff for me when it comes to that. But when it comes to muskie and the jigging for this muskie, for those muskie, barotrauma, is it something that you experience at deeper depths, or is it not something that you see right away with muskie?
I've caught muskies trolling to about 30 feet, like the bait 30 feet down. And I've had no problems with release. Typically, that's in late fall, talking, October, November. And those fish have, that's a good time to where they are down deep. And I've had no issues.
Dan, what's the deepest you've caught a walleye?
I've caught muskie personally at 30 feet down, but I've caught walleye at 80 feet down personally. And I know guys that have caught walleye in that 90, 95 range. At 80 feet though, like honestly, I thought I was targeting Cisco, and they were small walleye, so they didn't survive. They were they hit the fryer that night, unfortunately. But yeah,
Yep.
That's the deepest I've caught them. I've known people to catch them deeper. Back in the day when Spanish, when the North Channel was thriving with its salmon population, I've heard of a lot of guys catching muskie and northern pike, like 50, 60 feet on the ball, catch them down there. So like not monsters, but like decent sized fish. So they definitely do go deep. You've heard that over the years.
Incredible. Now, as a guide, you have decided to take your passion one step further, and you involved yourself in. I think it's a kids event, and I did the Ottawa Fish School. Yes, and you had quite a few that attended last year. I'm going to assume that this is on again this year.
Yeah, so this year we sold out in 8 weeks of camp. So a full week camp, we sold out. I think it was like something crazy, like an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I've been doing it. I was the principal, been doing it for 4 years. This year, I had to dial it back a bit. I'm going to be spending more time on my guiding, but I'm going to be helping out a couple days, and then also we do 4 days, different shore spots in Ottawa, and then on Fridays the kids go out half day at the beach, half day at the boat. So we go out and catch walleyes and catfish and moon eyes and freshwater drum. It's such a great experience. And I think the coolest part, I can understand how teachers love their job, where you can see kids, like we've had kids, 4 years ago that come back every year, and you can see how they've grown and they're excited and they remember all the memories, and it's amazing.
That's awesome. And to see some of the names mentioned on the poster, of course, we have the luxury of having Lawrence each and every Monday on our CFN Live from Bluefish Canada. And, of course, the Muskie Factory. Lisa and John do a fantastic job out there with a host of others that are a part of that Muskie Factory.
John and Lisa, we've been guiding we take the kids out in the boats on Fridays. And then Lawrence comes and does a talk. So if you're a kid, you're getting tons of knowledge and tons of memories. And for me, I'm a father, and I always find the kid or two that, some of the kids are more popular. Some of the kids are, passionate about fishing. I'll find the one kid and then hook them up with a carp or whatever. And it's so cool how one fish can really build a kid's confidence.
So true.
It's awesome. We actually broke the IGFA world record. We never registered it, but we broke the IGFA world kids release record with the official tape. It was on the news in the Rideau Canal. And the dad's like, no, he didn't want to do all the paperwork, but it was cool to do.
Wow.
Yeah. Kid fought the fish for 25 minutes, running up and down, cruise boats coming up and down and holding on for dear life. Like it's, and as a kid, some kids don't play sports. Some kids, you have different goals. And with fishing, it's so cool that you can, once you like to do it, you find new species, you find new sizes of species, and once you hit those, it's amazing. I've had grown men hug me like it's like I'm their daughter at their wedding. like they cut a muskie or whatever. Like it's like, so it's a great sport.
Speaking of which, I would have to suggest that the gentleman that was with you for this fish, there's got to be a story there. First of all, it's an enormous looking muskie.
Corey. So Corey's one of the only people that goes out with me like when things are really bad at the end of the year, when the phone starts ringing, people don't want to go on trips. But that's when fishing can be like insane. And I put my boat away. We're out in Corey's boat actually. And we're trolling away and laughing and having some coffee. And Corey's like, we get a rip on the rod. He goes, I go, grab that rod. He goes, no, you grab the rod. No, you grab the rod. And he goes, how many fish you catch this year? I go, well, I caught one muskie. He's like, why did you only catch one muskie? I was like, and net muskies is my job, right? Like, he's like, well, you grab the rod. I'm like, oh, okay. So I grab the rod. And then I just feel these head shakes. And I'm like, dude, you're going to be so pissed at me. Like, beyond pissed. And sure enough, we got the fish up and in the net. And he's like, yeah, I'm pissed at you.
Wow. What a fish that is. And how big was that fish, Jamie?
Here's another thing. As much as I'm not the most technologically sound guy, I also don't measure every fish. Like I really try not to stress the muskies out, so I can kind of eyeball it. That one I really wish we measured when I looked at it after, but I don't know. So
50 anyway.
Oh, guaranteed. Yeah, for sure. But normally I don't measure every fish unless it's like a client's like, how big is that? But I don't, some guys bump board every fish and it's like 37 3/4. Like, who cares? Like, be like 36, 38. It's not going to change your life. That's the way I see it. It's like it's a fish's life. It's like you get an extra ½ inch. Does that matter?
Yeah. To some, it does. To some, I
knew you guys were going to go there.
I throw that out there.
Say that soundbite. That's going somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, before we let Jamie go, any last thoughts, questions, or comments that you want to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Jamie, and we've gotten to know him over the last couple of years, and I'm super happy that we finally got to get him on the show, and hopefully we can do more because I've known the stories with Jamie, and I know where he can go, so we've just kind of scratched the surface. And we didn't actually get to touch, and I'm going to throw this out there right now because I'd always forgotten about it. So Scottie, you're at what 49 charitable. I'm going to mess this up, so I'm going to let you finish it off because you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So part of my business when I started off, I always find it you gotta give to get back, and our community. That's why I also did help with the Ottawa Fish School. I think it's important to get new people into fishing. I also think it's good to give back to the community. So I've done, happy to say, 49 trips for charity. This year we'll do our 50th. I'm trying to figure out a perfect way to do a really big trip, but donated some amazing causes, amazing, the Royal Ottawa Hospital, Make-A-Wish Foundation. That's some of the trips I did for them are amazing. Local hospitals, the Ottawa River Keeper, like so many different, the Kyle Turris golf tournament, Eric Goodbranson golf tournament. It's good to give back, and by giving, I've also met some of the greatest people I fished with through those trips, right? So by having a business, you got to provide for yourself, but also it's good to give back and then create memories to get people out fishing.
100%.
Number 50 is going to the Bacon Foundation, so we're going to go that way.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I need a big tax receipt on that one.
So I got a couple questions, Jamie. One of which I have to ask because as a tackle freak, and I love seeing new inventions, new tackle. I think all anglers do. When that water finally thaws, is there a bait that you're really looking forward to using this year that you bought maybe over the the off season that you can't wait to toss come summer?
That's a great question. We're thawed right now. The Livingston Bullnose is it's like a really shallow running crankbait. So I'll be out for gar first thing. And without giving away my secrets, that's my favorite bait for gar. So the Bullnose. And then the Kraken for muskie, this two bait, it's like half tube, half hard bait. I suck at fishing for, jigging for muskies. So this year on my days off, I swear I'm going to fix that.
Right on.
But I've had like buddies, other guides, they like slay them, but I'm still a virgin.
Nothing wrong with that, Jamie. It's not a bad thing to have. Now, for the Richard Dunlops of the world who live out that way, Richard's in Arnprior, but anybody that's out in the Ottawa area that perhaps maybe wants to book a charter with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, risingsuncharters.ca or Rising Sun Fishing on the old Instagram. That's you can see a bunch of photos there. Feel free to ask me any questions. Hey, look at that. Feel free to, if you have any questions, even about the local rivers or whatever, I'd love to help out and get you on some fish.
Well, I will say, Lisa has been bugging me to get out there, and I one of these days, I certainly have to oblige, or she's going to get sick of asking. But I will say, everything that I have learned, seen, and witnessed from you anglers that enjoy these waters as much as you do, it is quite a muskie factory. A very apropos name that John and Lisa came up with, because that truly is what I see it as. It's unfortunate that you hear of the odd die-off for various reasons, because as I said, they are such an integral part of the food chain, but just an awesome fish to witness. Not one that I particularly like catching, like Danny, it's incidental for me. And I'll be honest with you, Jamie, it's the biggest problem for me is the handling. I just feel when that fish is thrashing around, I'm doing more harm than good. At that point, it's like, geez, why did I even catch this fish?
Yeah, we have huge nets and all the release tools. And I think if you're out there new to muskie fishing, you kind of have to think what happens when it happens, right? So have your pliers, have your bolt cutters, have everything ready, have your camera ready, get the fish in the net, keep it in the net, unhook it. Okay, quick photo, back in the water. I know they're talking about changing regulations that for most of Ontario, that if you catch a fish that's out of that's not a legal fish, you can't take it out of the water for photos. So for muskie, in the Ottawa River, it's 54 inches. Well, I've caught 5 54-inch muskies in my life out of I don't know, close to maybe 1,800. So if somebody catches a 52-inch muskie that's 40 pounds, they're going to want a photo with that, right? So we're going to have to figure out that angle as well, but got to protect a resource. And then at the same time, like I said,
amen.
Yeah.
Get out and enjoy the passion of fishing. Do so with Captain Jamie Pistilli on behalf of Danny and myself and the entire Power Hour crew. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Jamie, and taking the time to share some great stories.
Hey, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And Danny, we'll do a follow-up when you get up here.
I'm looking forward to it. I got all I know is I'm getting to Ottawa around the 21st, and I don't know what's happening after that. So
we'll have to kidnap you, make some stories, and then we can recap later, right?
We're famous for that. We'll work both ways. I'm looking forward to it. I got a very exciting summer, and you're part of it. So I'm excited to go for that.
Danny, Scottie, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
The honor was all ours. And up next, of course, we're going to be doing our giveaway for the Camp McIntosh 2-night stay for you and a friend right after a quick word from McIntosh themselves. Take care, Jamie.
Cheers.
And there's a place that I've dreamed of where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream. You know what I mean.
All right, Danny, here it is. This is the Camp McIntosh giveaway, of course, courtesy of Camp McIntosh and via the Made in Canada Tackle Show. For all those who had their phone hovered over the QR code, you were only allowed to enter once. So unfortunately, we did have to get rid of a few ballots just because there were duplicates. But at the end of the day, we have close to 50 people that submitted, qualified, and are ready to win. Great interview. Yeah, I am too. Great interview with Jamie. I must say, dude, I see why the two of you get along.
He's a great person. I mean, I love spending the time. I've got such a small window with him, but it's not a window. It was a door that just busted open. I mean, he's such a fun person to be around. I really enjoy his stories, his personality, everything else. He reminds me a lot of, obviously, my wife. They have a lot of very similar traits. I'm looking forward for them to meet, actually. And, I've had a lot of good times with Jamie in the last couple of years and look forward to spend some more time with him. But I love giving stuff away, so I'm excited for this. This is fun.
Amen. Let's do it. All right. So I want to thank our good buddy Brad for putting the list together from the QR code. That is the name wheel for all those who have joined us in the past. This is what it always looks like, so it's nothing new. We should have probably asked Jamie to do it, but Danny, give me a number between 1 and 10. That's how many times we're going to shuffle the deck before we spin the wheel.
1 and 10. Let's keep this nice and simple. We'll just go with 3.
3. All right. We're going to shuffle the deck 3 times. There's 1, there's 2, and there is 3. Let's go to full screen. And you know what, Dan? I think it's time to give away. So whoever this lands on, you get to pick whoever it is that you're taking with you to Camp McIntosh. 2 nights, 3-day stay. You're going to have great fishing, great fun, great food, and a ton of memories. So I'm looking forward to seeing some pics and hearing about your tales up at Camp McIntosh. Alrighty.
Here we go.
We're going to spin. Whoever it lands on is our winner. Good luck to all.
Ooh, exciting.
It's still going. It's still going.
Oh, that's a close one. Oh,
no way. Wow. Natalie, you won. Fantastic, girl. Natalie and Sarah are members of the OWA, and Natalie is the winner. And I'm pretty sure she's going to take her mom, Sarah, with her. So that is awesome. Kelly, if you're still watching, can you ring Natalie and Sarah and let them know that they won the trip to Camp McIntosh? Right on.
That was fun. I enjoyed that. So we get to do this again in a month for the NCAA.
Amen. Absolutely.
Looking forward to that.
Well, dude, as always, an honor to spend some time with you each and every Wednesday. Look forward to this time. And, of course, those we interview and get to know. It's always a lot of fun. But at the end of it, it has to come to an end. All good things have to come to an end. And here we are now, Dan. We bid our farewell. I'm not sure who we're going to have on next Wednesday, but I know we're going to have to start working on it.
Absolutely. And I'm actually going to be in your neck of the woods next week. So we're going to play that a little bit. Yeah, maybe maybe I'll be sitting beside you back there. We'll see what happens.
That'd be cool. That would be cool.
We'll get that all figured out.
Right on, folks. We will see you again next Monday on CFN Live. And until next Wednesday, where Dan repeats what we're doing here tonight again next week. We look forward to that. And have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Get out, enjoy. Hopefully the weather's going to be half decent for you wherever it is you are. Here in Ontario, it's not going to be too bad. They're going to get all the rain out of its system throughout the week, and it's going to warm up on the weekend. So hopefully everybody gets out and enjoys themselves. Are you out fishing this weekend, Dan?
I'm going to try. The wind's been horrible up here. We've had like 40-kilometer winds. It's been just not fun to fish in.
Right on.
Not as short as that.
You take care of yourself. Give Mara a hug for me, and we'll see you all next week. Right on, right on.